Hello, everybody. It is Tony Lynch, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And yes, we are on our third installment of the Ancestral Healing episode. And today we're talking about creating space and giving a voice. We got some amazing guests for you guys. My co-host will be up here very shortly. But before we get started, as always, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And just a quick update, we will be starting the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast back up in September. So you guys be ready for our daily episodes. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up my guests and let them introduce themselves. Hopefully you guys are ready for this one. We're going deep. We're going deep as always. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to this episode. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Now, before we get started, I want to take some time and let you guys introduce yourselves. Tawana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tawana Yvette, the one, the only Black Butterfly Goddess. I am a fourth generation intuitive healer, psychic, and spiritual coach. And I am so grateful to be a part of this conversation. I'm very excited.
Thank you. Amy.
Yes, hello. So great to be here. I'm Amy. I'm the creatrix of Wormsworth Academy. And people often say that I teach them all that their mothers couldn't because our society has not valued us as sacred, as the women that we are, and the healing and light and joy that we need to bring back to this planet. And that happens when we heal ourselves as women. We bring that energy and light and joy back to the planet and all of our communities. So spiritual counselor, healer, here to support the ascension of humanity and the healing of women.
Awesome. Kate?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kate Troyer. I am a feng shui lifestylist. And for anybody who has no idea what feng shui is or what the heck a feng shui lifestylist does, I basically help people combine the energy of their mind, body, spirit, and home so that you can create a space that truly supports and nurtures, the journey that your life is on.
Wow. Thank you guys, man. Such an amazing panel today. And I just want to start off with a very basic question. When we talk about ancestral healing, breaking those ancestral bonds, that trauma, things like that, when we talk about creating space and giving a voice, how would we define that in those terms of ancestral healing?
I would love to jump in and answer this from my perspective, right? Because I have a feeling it's going to be very different from Amy and Taiwana's. And I'll give a person example for me. When I first got into feng shui, or rather when it found me and I became obsessed with the practice and I was getting certified, I was definitely into the fact that our home is our mirror. It's a connection, a reflection of our internal energy. But what it kind of allowed to happen for me was that connection between my environment and my body actually allowed me to be within my body really for the first time after going through a lot of trauma in my childhood and teenage years. And so that was kind of like an unexpected thing. And with that came a more intentional conversation, right, around my home. Like now, not only was my home a place that like I wanted to feel good and I wanted it to make me feel positive, but it was really this place that allowed me to feel safe. And for me, I don't believe that we're able to really go in deeper and heal or even connect with that ancestral trauma until we are able to feel safe in our body. For me, the body has really been a conduit for that. And having a space, creating a space that my body feels safe in was a huge part in allowing myself to feel safe and open up to that and then connect to my ancestors, and then go on that path of healing that and connecting with that ancestral trauma.
Anybody else want to chime in?
I would love to. You could not have put it any more accurate than I had the very same experience that you did. I never felt safe. And this is my first apartment, albeit humble. This is my first apartment alone. I became a mother at 18. So I've never had a space alone. And once I settled in here, I realized I felt safe. And all of a sudden, I created this living wall, and I'm calling my coach, and I'm like, "Hey, look what I did today!" And she's like, "You did all that today?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "So your creativity's coming back?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Do you see the wall? Do you see?" And she's like, "Do you know what that means?" And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "You feel safe to be creative again." And it was shortly after that my ancestors would not let me sleep. It was an every night thing that my mother would wake me up, and scripting and writing and introduction to this one and introduction to that one, and there's always about a dozen of them in my home now. But I feel safe and I feel whole, and that ancestral healing has happened. The trauma ended with me. I use my voice. I talk about my life with full transparency, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The trauma ended here. So now my children and their children can go on and don't have to worry about carrying that ancestral trauma.
Thanks. You want to chime in, Amy?
I would love to, and I want to acknowledge that this is hitting so deeply in my heart, and there are tears behind my eyes because I so resonate with this work, and I love how this is coming forth around safe. My former company name was Safe to Shine, and the only reason I changed it was I got a spirit message that this work needs to be brought forth more to the masses. And then I heard Women's Worth Academy because it's felt like a bigger container.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I preface with that in relation to ancestral healing and giving that a voice is, I'll speak a little bit for myself too. I grew up in a household that was terrifying, wasn't safe. My father was incredibly emotionally verbal abusive. And I didn't come to realize that until later in life when I began my healing journey. I began my healing journey about I'm dating myself, 23 years ago. And when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And I didn't even know what a chakra was at the time. I was a fitness chick. And the reason I preface this is because it was a divine synchronicity of the teacher that came into my life, who to this day I'm very close with. I didn't know at the time that she walked with a Native American from the Cree tradition in Northern Canada. So her teachings were not only energetic healing and polarity and so many other vastness, it was also this ancestral healing piece and medicine wheel, traditional medicine wheel. Not the medicine wheel that we see in our world of the four directions. I'm talking about the 128 ancestors that are laid down, the rocks, fire keepers, this whole thing. So the reason I'm bringing this all up is because I began walking with her. And it wasn't until about more than 10 years later, in 2013, when there was this calling, and she shared how she was doing a medicine wheel class, not even knowing what that was. And I felt something in my body, the body piece. And just like Taiwana, is that how
Yes.
Good. And Kate was mentioning being more embodied, feeling safe enough, healing enough within me to be able to step into this deeper work, to heal, to be the lineage breaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not even knowing, having no consciousness what I was getting into. The whole reason I'm sharing all of this and the value of it and giving it a voice is I listened to that nudge, and that nudge terrified me. And I knew I had to move forward with it. and it changed the trajectory of my life. I wound up studying in Medicine Wheel to even this day. I just sat in Medicine Wheel just a couple of months ago with her. But my point is that all the healing that I did up until that point, I still had an incredibly disconnected relationship with my family because of all the pain, because of all the hurt, because there was just so much still there. And my dad was still alive at the time. And I did a lot of forgiveness work, but I was still keeping myself separate. And when I stepped into ancestral healing, I began to understand that by me disconnecting myself from my family, by me disconnecting myself from my ancestors, I was disconnecting myself from me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so painful. I mean, literally, I could just cry right now because I could see myself in that room at this moment. What a change it was, and how it opened up. Oh my God, how important it is for me to continue this healing work. How important, like all my ancestors are looking to me.
Right.
Yeah.
For this healing like this. And it didn't feel like a burden. It didn't feel like an obligation. It was
Gratitude.
It's like there are no words of this connection, this understanding of, oh my God, this is big.
Yes.
So I share all that because since then, my dad did recently pass a few months ago. That's why it's, and we have healed.
Mm-hmm.
But bringing the voice, there was so much pain, so much woundedness because my father became who he was because his father carried so much pain. And he grew up in whatever household he grew up in that he never talked about. And just goes back and back and back of this understanding that our ancestors didn't have the capability to heal themselves. Like back then, therapy in the 60s, 70s was still considered only if you're like, psychotic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just, as a result, what I'll complete with is in 2020 with COVID, we all started getting on these family calls, my two sisters and my mom and my dad and me. And my body was, just constricted. Every part of me didn't want to be on it, yet my soul knew I needed to be on it for the healing.
Mm-hmm.
And this moment when my other sister had the courage to actually confront my dad and say things to my dad that she never said before. And then my older sister shared with me, well, we felt abandoned by you when you moved to LA, because I moved to LA in my early 30s from New York originally. I had no idea she was upset with me. And I voiced, well, I needed to, I voiced, I'm so sorry. I was so wounded and in so much pain and so effed up because of our upbringing. I didn't mean to abandon you. I just couldn't be around the family anymore. And we had this huge healing and I had this moment of, I know this is happening because of this work that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so much healing has happened since. And I mean, I can go on and but yeah, there are no words to seeing how it breaks every family member free. And my father even has had, when he was alive, had quite a few moments of really trying to, heal and have remorse and just beyond words. So yeah, like thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful for all the listeners because
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I would say this, when as a male, right, as a man in today's world, people still find it kind of strange that I do grief work, right? And I work with primarily men. And when I started this journey on ancestral understanding and healing, as a matter of fact, I was with my co-host. She's actually sick. She messaged me. She was like, I feel like crap today. I was like, you know what? But she is tuning in. So this one's for you, Andrea. Hopefully you feel better, my friend. But when I started this, I was in a grief funk, right? It's what I like to call my grief hurricane. And when it shows up, I know how to sit with it. I know how to sit in the middle and begin to pick apart the pieces that I still need to heal, right? But not just heal, but understand. And you know, and I've had Taiwan on the show. We've gone deep on conversations. I'm telling you, you know, this is my jam. Um, and so it began to, you know, Andre and I had did a podcast and we were talking about it. And I had just gone through this funnel, and it led me into these different rooms. And the voice just kept saying, "Break us free, break us free." And it took me down a rabbit hole, and I began to walk through it. I was going, "Whoa, what is this?" And that's when I really understood that there was another level of healing, a deeper level of healing that I had no idea. And so the voice kept coming, and there was forgiveness, and then there was understanding, then there was accountability, then there was, you know, connection, not just with people around me, but with those who have come before me. Then it realized the work that I had, the work that I was doing, how it all related. And so now incorporating the past, the present, and the future all into one, and going, okay, how do we help others understand and help them develop a voice for their ancestors to be able to heal? And I began to understand a little bit better that we carry those traumas in our blood, right? And the craziest thing, and please, by all means, people, you guys, let me know what you guys think about this. But once I began to break those chains of my ancestors, it in the present moment, everything began to shed, just like, whoa. And like all the craziness started happening all at once. But then after that, the doors began to open up, and I was going, whoa, what is this?
Yes.
And so, you know, when you're excited about something, you want to tell the world, right? And I was telling Tawana this earlier. I started talking about this with people, and they were going, "What do you mean?" And they couldn't wrap their head around it. And but it made perfect sense to me. And that's where this episode, this third episode, comes in. You know, like, how do we teach others to create that space for that healing to begin, but also to be able to use the ancestral voice in a present day setting, you know, to really showcase our authentic selves, right? Because we carry knowledge, we carry those things with us, right? And I want to be able to help those that are on that healing journey understand the difference between generational trauma and ancestral trauma, and how to take that journey backwards and begin to really be free in our authentic selves. So my question to my beautiful panel, what are your thoughts, and what are some of the steps that people can take to begin to develop that voice and hold that space within ourselves? Because I had the in the second episode, you know, there was a beautiful concept of we are our ancestors, right? Our ancestors live within us. How do we bring that forward? So I pose that question to my panel.
I bring it forward by no longer allowing anyone's thoughts, feelings, opinions of me take me off course. This is what my ancestors could not do. They were healers. They would have been ripped to shreds, literally, for being spiritual healers, natural healers, intuitive healers. What do you mean intuitive? How do you know? Prove it. So I bring this forth by honoring my ancestors are honored every day, but me standing up and saying, hey, not only does the family trauma stop here, the buck stops here. I'm taking these masks of societal expectations and people's expectations and everything that's been poured into me that takes me away from this something that I know is inside of me. This something that I know my mother was, but didn't know how to put it out to the world. She shared it with me, but my sisters didn't know, you know? My ancestors couldn't be what they were, which were healers.
Mm.
And so not only have I healed from the generational trauma, which is forgiving my parents because they were traumatized, as you were speaking so eloquently on, Amy. And my children and I are in the process of that. Because right now we are in the process of me just honoring their truth. We'll work on why mom did what she did later. But right now we honor them and give them that space for their truth to shine. But I honor my ancestors by being a psychic and being proud of it, by being an intuitive healer. And I am so proud of myself. I went from working for White House appointees to this. That's about as opposite as you can get. And I'm proud. And every day that I use my voice, whether it's a podcast, whether I'm on TikTok live with cards flying and music going and people crying and crying because I'm channeling their loved ones. I'm giving them answers. I'm bringing them healing. I honor them by being who they created me to be.
Mm.
Mm.
They are in me and I am in them. I honor them by being who they created me to be. I had one of my ancestors stand up to me on June 2nd. And she's this little 4'2" Irish woman. And I had just gotten off of a TikTok live. And she goes, how dare you? She said some curse words, but we're going to leave those out. And she's Irish. I'm sure you can imagine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But she goes, how dare you? And I'm looking like, is this really happening? I'm the only one in the house. Like, I know you guys are here, but why can I see you like really scolding me right now? And you're a foot and a half shorter than me. And I've got all these thoughts going through my head. She says, you sit on that screen, that thing every day, and you let people disrespect you. How dare you? I had to sit on an airplane that day. And normally, because I take seizure medicine, I would fall asleep on the airplane because I take it right before takeoff. I couldn't fall asleep because I thought about that little 4'2" Irish lady that sits at my dining room table every day and how she couldn't speak back. She couldn't speak. She was a healer. She couldn't speak what she saw, and how my grandmother and her mother and her mother were the same. And even though my mother spoke about it to me, she didn't speak it to anyone else. So how dare I? How dare I not use my voice when they waited for me? She said, we waited over 250 years for you. How dare you? So they are honored every day, whether people like what I do or not. That's not my business. They are honored by the women that I am healing. They are honored when these women sit across from me and they have been through traumas as heinous as mine. My father impregnated me. And they're healing. because I healed. So not only am I healing my generational trauma and my ancestral trauma, I'm healing theirs, and so are you, Amy. You have to think about it that way too. You're healing theirs. You're giving them the voice to heal theirs. And when you think about it, it becomes something that there are no words in the English language to describe. I cry more than I laugh, but I used to laugh more than I cried. And I feel the complete opposite now. I cry now because I feel so good doing the work that I do, serving the people that I serve. And it's so important. Like, just think, Amy, you and I are from New York. Just think 40 years ago, if we had been taught how to heal, how much pain that could have saved us, and I know my children. Just think. But my grandbabies will never see it. That's how, Tony.
That's deep. It's real deep. Anybody else want to chime in? Kate, Amy? Wow.
Would you pose the question again? Because I'm so here and so like, there's a lot happening, right? Like, and I feel some of my ancestors behind me right now. So there's a lot going on in this room. Can you pose the question?
I feel you.
So much is going on. So let me see if I get the question right. Bring that question back up again. How do we help others find that voice of their ancestors to be that deep healing that's necessary?
Yes.
In order for our present day voices to be able to carry and break those chains.
Thank you. Yes.
In a more simpler way.
First of all, Taiwana, like, oh my God, I just feel you. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really, thank you for sharing it. I'm so deeply moved, very emotional behind my eyes right now. What I would say about that in bringing forth like some simple steps and is what I've come to realize is that our society doesn't, we're ascending, it's becoming more mainstream, much more than it was when I even began my healing journey 20 something years ago. Consciousness wasn't even a word that people used in mainstream back then, you know, right? And at the same time, our society does not value the healing journey. It doesn't value ancestral healing in the mainstream, in the what's important. And I see it. I see people staying up in their heads and making things valuable and forgetting what truly like valuable, like, oh, got to make the money, or, you know, I'm going to, you know, be, you know, scrolling on Instagram or whatever it may be, that just keeps having our energy going out, and we lose sight of this important piece that when I focus on my healing, and what I want to say about that's coming through in the moment is I would say that what I've come to realize is like the healing journey is it's not easy, but the alternative is never getting out of the struggle, never getting out of the pain, right? And our ancestors, as Taiwana shared, they didn't have the opportunity to heal the struggles that we have that opportunity now. And so what I want to say really is just like, get on the freaking healing train, you know, like see the value in it. Like, and again, it's when someone's ready. I understand that. And it is a very delicate dance. And there is a lot out there. There are a lot of people that have not been in this work for or have the experience to really hold that type of healing in a safe space. So there is a level of discernment that needs to come through, because it's great that there are so many people that are interested and that are offering healing work. However, in this day and age, somebody can offer healing work after a 2-day training.
Yes.
Yes.
To really be able to hold the healing for another soul and all of their people, because this soul in front of us is holding, as you said, Tony, in their blood, in their bones, in their DNA, in the epigenetics of 128 people, inside of them, shaken
Right.
up. So when they start to have a healing, it's shaking up everything inside of them. And often they don't know what's happening.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so I would say the first layer is healing the mental body, because that's where we get, like, the buck stops here, right? As you were saying, Taiwana,
Mhm.
if we can't break free from the mental thought body and live our life up here, thinking our way through life, or in worry or in doubt, because that's the first layer of healing, is when we heal our the layer of the great grandparents,
Mhm.
that third generation, right? We're the first generation, then our parents are the second, and our grandparents are four grandparents, the pillars of support. They are holding, and the fourth generation, the great grandparents as well, are holding the level of healing the mental and emotional body
Mhm.
in us.
Yep.
So until we begin to break free from our own dysfunctional programming that's keeping us stuck, when we have that moment of, I'm up in my head about things and it's not working, something needs to shift.
Mhm.
My invitation is, start there. Start from this place of, I have two choices in life. One is to stay where I am and keep creating these stories in my head that aren't true, and keep this, and why is this happening to me? And a lot of victim consciousness isn't even conscious. I see people being in the healing work for 10 years, 15 years, and suddenly, like, there's this another layer of victim consciousness that comes up. And so when we can embrace, at any moment when we feel powerless, that's an opportunity to break free from this path of victim consciousness that keeps us powerless, that keeps us in pain. And when we're in that space, we never get out of the pain. But when we choose that different path and say, okay, this is like really terrifying, this egoic self in me, maybe I'll wait, maybe I won't do it, because the mental mind where the egoic self lives is telling us these stories that aren't true. I thought I healed this already. I don't know if I want to go there, all that. Well, if we don't go to this place of saying, yeah, I hear you, and I'm not going to let you get in the way of me anymore, or my ancestors, because that path is where possibility is. That path is where freedom is. That path is where liberation is. That path is where co-creation. That's the path of awakening into this, the 90% of the real world that is the invisible realm. And what I'll leave, Honor, I deeply relate to your story, because I also, my best friend was a ghost growing up, like, and it was not understood in my family line. I came from a Jewish New York educated family, and like there was no room for creativity, and it just wasn't. And I was like the singer and the whole, like, feminine, like I was just like the black sheep, right? But I share this.
Right.
I share this because I was always terrified, sheer terror of revealing myself, of revealing my gifts. Even when I began this work, even when I was, yeah. And I remember this moment. I had my ancestral will out on my altar, and I had a cleaning service coming. And I remember being like, God, they're going to think I'm crazy if they see this. What do I do? And like, and I did. I keep myself hidden. And it was in 2014 when I sat in medicine wheel with my teacher. All of this, I was seeing everyone in the room shapeshift. And I knew I needed something. There was a nudge that was like, you need to speak up. And so I spoke up about this terror in me that feels like people will think I'm crazy, or I'll be killed, or I'll be persecuted, or I'll be ostracized if I allow myself to be seen for my gifts that now help the healing of other women. And I was shaking. And as a result, what I'll complete with is I later found out after that, my mother shared with me that my father's mother, my grandmother, they used to call her the witch. She always had premonition dreams. She knew when my mother was pregnant with me. And I later came to find out that my dad, when he was 88, so 8 years ago, he passed away when he was 95 and a half. So when he was 88, he shared with me that, no, 86, excuse me. He shared with me, nobody else in the family, but he felt safe with me. And he shared with me that he has always been very intuitive and that his mother would visit him in his dreams. And so I feel something releasing as I talk about this, because what it did was it started to help heal me of like, this isn't my imagination. This is just like when people are born with whatever it may be, great intellect or great artistry, or like it runs in their family, right? They have these gifts. I'm like, oh, this has always been there. It like helped me to feel happy to express myself, to know that I'm not crazy. I mean, this fear of being crazy was like a real thing, and it was terrifying. And the moment that shifted, my skills catapulted. Mediumship was like, whoa, I mean, I can go on and on and on. But as a result, like Taiwan has shared, it has given the opportunity for the healing of so many other people as a result, because I broke free from that. And I can feel it. I could feel my, ancestors dancing around this, because there was so much persecution and struggle and strife and yeah. So that's what I would say. Like, it's not step on the path, trust that you always have the choice to slow it down. Nobody's rushing or pushing you, yet begin to make it some deeper level of priority in your life, because in the end of the day, it's the highest priority, and it will break you free and liberate you more so than any of these quick fixes or manifest your dream life or these quick courses. And I'm not saying they're bad, but what I'm saying is they don't get to the root of the healing. And if we're not getting to the root of our healing, then we are still co-creating with fear and shame and unhealed parts of ourselves. And then we wonder why things fall apart when they don't last, or because there's still unconsciousness in us that is co-creating our reality. And that's what we don't really want.
Yes.
I'm gonna let Kate jump in, because I love the fact I listened to both of you, and I'm like, here's a connection, and the word feng shui came in, and I was going, how does all of this connect? Now I've made the connection, because when you think about feng shui, right, how we set up our home, right, can affect that connection as well. So now it's starting to make sense. So Kate, can you chime in and kind of like put this thing together real quick? Not real quick, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tie this in, because if I'm correct, everything just made sense. But before you do that, everybody on Instagram who have been tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in. Everybody who's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, thank you guys for tuning in as well. If you guys have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section. We'll be sure to get to them as we go. So now back to my beautiful guest, Kate.
Okay, so there's just listening to both Amy and Taiwana, and then all of the things that are coming in for me. I have so much to say, so I'm going to try and be intentional and concise about kind of the points that I want to hit on. First of all, if anyone is seeing me yawning a lot, that is, I can tell that there's just so much energy kind of moving through our conversation, and that's always how I'm releasing and processing it. So I'm not tired and I'm not bored. It's just like what happens. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to start with this, because there were, Amy, one of the things that you said, about how you had your medicine wheel up and you're like, oh crap, my cleaning lady's coming. I need to hide this away. I don't want this to be seen. One, I think that is just such a great example, right, of how we don't always have to be verbally expressing being seen, right? Being seen is on many different levels. And I think that maybe especially for any of you that need to go through that process of being seen, Amy, like I feel like we all share that, Tawana, Amy, and myself, is something that we've struggled with and is something that's been a part of our ancestral healing. And so I think for anybody that resonates with that, maybe starting with your home would be a really great place to, get out your altar, have things out that might make people go like, oh, what the heck is that? Or, because it's a way that you can kind of start to get comfortable. I think I think there in the ancestral healing, I don't know, at least from my point of view and from my experience, that there is one path or right way. I think it starts with empowering yourself to trust your intuition. When I started going through my ancestral healing, and I believe that I am kind of still on that path. I kind of started with my mother's side of the family, and then have within like the last 6 to 8 months have learned that my dad's side of the family is big on this too, and it's like a totally different thing. And I've been moving through that more this year, and the other side of the family was kind of, the last couple of years. But I never set out to do ancestral healing. Like that wasn't something that I was like, oh, here's on my healing checklist, it's time for ancestral work. It just, it just started to come in naturally. And for me, it kind of, I would say that I was aware of I think it started before this, but when I had a true awareness about it, Tawana, we share very similar with like having not, this is a new space for me, but the one I had prior, about 18 months ago, was my first space I had ever lived alone. And it was after a very traumatic ending of a relationship. And my 14-year-old pet, I had to put her down. And there was just like all of these things that happened. But it was the first place that I not only felt safe in, but it was like totally me. It was just like this expression of myself in a more powerful way than I had ever experienced before. So one, it was, I'll go back to creating that level of feeling safe and seen within your home. Your home is a living, breathing thing, just like we are. It's made up of energy, just like everything is. And so I think that there's also like, maybe it's not necessarily to someone outside of you that you're expressing that sense of safety and authentic self with, but I truly believe that your home does not only notice that energy, but it honors it and wants to continue to support that kind of unraveling that you're doing. I mean, our home's natural energy was created on this aspect of safety and support and stability. Like that's why, it's shelter, right? And so I think, just being mindful of that and having the awareness that that's really the energy that your home wants to give you. And the more you're willing to kind of unfurl in it and be more authentic and show more of that self, it's going to continue to support that energy to grow within you. But for me, it was creating that space first, and which is just something like, that's what I do for a living, right? So I was like, okay, this feels really good. And then after my pet passed away, my dog, I was obviously like very heartbroken, but a couple days later, I was feeling her so much in my home that I was like, wow, it's like, I mean, I basically am seeing you here. And then a few days after that, like I had this like, just, I feel like this is her passing is connecting me to something greater than myself, that I've been connected to this before, but I think I've repressed it, right? Like it started to kind of like bring up these things in me. And I could have very easily been like, no, you're just grieving your pet and you're crazy, right? You're just like, creating this as something. Um, but then my grandparents started to come in and sit with me during meditation. And while I've felt their energy a lot and on and off since they passed away like 12 or 13 years ago, this became like a thing, like I was seeing them come and sit with me. And I thought, oh, wow, like that's so nice, right? And then from there, it's just like all of these little things created this bigger, this kind of snowball effect. From there, I decided that I wanted to take the room that was my office in my home, and I literally made it I called it my healing room, right? My meditation room, my body work room. And literally the only thing I did in there, I had, all of my tools and my books, and I had a yoga mat in the middle of the floor, and I would just go in and I would just sit there, and I was connecting so deeply, like unlike I ever had before. And I was really feeling like I would just see like all my ancestors just coming in and filling the room, and I'd be like, oh, okay, this is new. Right. um and I allowed myself to trust what was happening was happening. And I think that's such a huge piece, that like, there's no one way, there's no right way. It's going to be different for everyone. But like that one piece of advice would be like, trust your intuitive feelings and just kind of open to them and be curious about them, because it's, again, like these things just happened. And because I was alone, feeling safe, feeling comfortable in my space, I was just like, I mean, who is this going to hurt for me to follow these little intuitive nudges? It's not going to hurt anyone. And the more I followed it, the more like things just kept coming and opening up. And I remember, after I was sitting with my ancestors a lot in meditation in my little, meditation room. There's one day that I came home from the gym and I opened my garage door and I go to pull in the garage, and there was a shelf on the wall that had like a big Rubbermaid tote on it. And on top of that was a framed picture of my grandparents. And it literally fell like 10 feet off the shelf, which I lived there for almost a year. It had never fallen, anything like that, before I pulled in the garage. And literally on top of it was a glass frame picture, which hit the ground from 10 feet. It didn't break and it landed face up. Nothing else fell out of this tote. Like, I seriously don't even know how it happened. There was no lid on it or anything. And I picked it up and I was like, wow, like this is such confirmation for the work I've been doing. Like, I think, as we'll be provided these intuitive nudges for steps to take. I think when we continue to take those, we also will receive like these little confirmations of what we're doing. And I think it's really important to just like, they may be big, they may be small, but to pay attention and honor those things. Right. So I didn't take that picture of my grandparents and put it back away. I brought it into my meditation room and I set it in front of my bookshelf, right in front of where I would meditate every day. And then I started feeling them stronger and stronger. And, for me, that went on for a couple months, until finally one day I went into this like really fast, went really deep in meditation. And I ended up sitting with each one of my grandparents that had passed. And we had this whole really beautiful conversation. And it really wasn't until that conversation that I realized what I had been doing. Like, I definitely knew that like my ancestors were coming in, and I'm like, oh, there must be something here that I need to work on. I think this is, something. But they sat with me and talked to me about what I had been doing and all of these, which was a totally new experience for me. That wasn't something that, like had happened before, at least that I can remember. And when they came, they were like, okay, like, we're always here, but you don't really need us every day anymore. Like, you've done all these things, and you've not only, helped yourself, but you've helped us. And now we don't need to we don't need to keep coming back to help you, right? Like, we're going to ascend as well. We're on to our next part of the journey. And I just know that like none of that would have happened for me again if I wouldn't have allowed myself to trust my intuition from this really empowered place, right? And realize that like, okay, like, yeah, I can't maybe share this with everyone, because it's not something everyone would understand. But I knew what was flowing through me, and I knew the connection, and I knew that I was being guided the entire time. And then even since then, there's just been so many things that it's like, things just come up and I feel it in my body. I feel this connection and this pull to this information or studying this, and then all these little breadcrumbs just fall. And I think, there's that piece of it. And then Amy, like you were saying, and I'll kind of wrap this up, how you were saying that like healing, it's, it can be a lot, and there's a choice, right? And once we kind of embark on that path, I think there's like allowing ourselves to hold the space for the healing, because the healing part isn't the fun part, right? Kind of the intuitive breadcrumbs is kind of like the part that you can get curious about, and you're like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And it makes it kind of fun, right? Until you're just like wide open and all of these things are coming out. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I kind of want to put that back together. I think allowing that space for that healing to take place and not putting a time limit on it. And again, this is another way that your home, your environment can assist you, right? You can create altars in your home to honor your ancestors or the work that you're doing. Having a space in your home where you can go to be quiet, meditate, journal, like designating these areas that feel really good to you. And again, allow you to just be open and allow that healing to take place. Imagine if you did all this work and now, you've opened yourself up to all of this ancestral trauma and healing, but your home is, a hot mess. It's chaotic. There's stuff everywhere, and I understand for people that have families and everything. I'm not saying your space needs to be perfect, but you need to have a space that feels clean and safe and has this intention behind it that is supporting the work that you're doing. And again, you can create that with intuition, right? There's so many feng shui tools and guidelines and all of that. But for me and what I love about my practice and the way that I educate and work with people is like, what feels right to you? Who do you want to honor here? What's coming up? Like, that's really what's most important. And so I would say that, Tony, that's really how your home can help support you, right? One, just being really aware that that's what your home naturally wants to do for you, is support you, give you safety, give you stability, and it wants to assist you in unraveling into your very authentic self and doing that healing. And then it also wants to be the space that you can You know, you can cry, you can just let all of that emotion out. Like, you know, I think of it in a way like this extension, right, of Mother Earth, and that's where we will go to, you know, give our things to, so that Mother Earth can kind of take them in and cleanse them, right? And help us like process that. To me, your home is a similar space to do that within, right? You can give it to it. It's there to create that support system for you.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for tying all of that in.
Yeah.
As we're sitting here holding this space, the one thing that kept coming through as we were talking, you know, as me, as a man in the world today, I've always um, held peace mentally, right? And I've been on this journey for, like I said, 6 years since I got into this work, but it goes back a little bit further than that as well. Because, sometimes I wanted to understand why. And my whole entire life, I've always felt as if I was paying for things that was not mine. But there was always something inside of me that always felt caged down, like they were saying, "No, it's not your time. You need to be caged up. The world is not for you." You know, and I've always been a fighter. Any situation. If it was a physical fight, yes, I'm not a fight. I will fight my way out. Figure it out, right? Win, lose, or draw. But well, we're gonna lose. There's no draw. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to fight. You're gonna have to take me out. I'm gonna have to take you out. Either which way. But there's this image that came into my head, like it was, and I want to say, I believe it's a form of me. That's me. Which leads me into this state. Mentally, I was free. I wasn't free. That goes, and I do believe, and I could be wrong, but this is just, again, my thoughts on it. It was like, what's keeping me from moving, truly being free. Now, this is where I get real deep with it, where we talk about the conscious and the unconscious mind. And I have a really vast understanding from my perspective that the conscious mind is limited.
Mm-hmm.
It's right. It's limited to what we understand. The laws of physics. Where the unconscious mind, when I tap into those things, I tap into that part of me, those chains that are holding me back begin to slowly come. And I become stronger. And I can hear just as I'm talking with you guys right now, I can hear my ancestors like, get ready. And I get pumped up, ready. I'm ready to hit the ground and start plowing through these things. The unconscious mind has taught me something that I never thought that I would ever be able to reach, but the vastness of it. The vastness of it. I have no feeling primarily. And this current technique, and this is where I said I appreciate those that because my son is good. Love being a father. Love teaching him, walking with him, and being just part of his journey. And he was so young, but taught me so much before he passed away. And now I feel his presence that much more as I begin to walk. And it's true, this child is leading me along the path of in-depth understanding of his motivations. Research over years. And it's as if when he was here, he was holding my hand, and now I'm holding him. Right? And I do what comes inside, which is allowing myself to go along that, or allow myself to go along the journey. Yeah, energy is always here. Yeah, always here. And it's a guiding, it's a guiding light. I can experience here and allow my mind to go in those different places, which I started to know that early, so it's not, I didn't think that I could do the laws of physics does not attach me. The laws of physics don't attach me. Anything that manifests into the world. So I said, you know, if I can manifest this into the world, why would I not feel it? Okay, someone I'm like, you know what? That is crazy because, you know, considering my past and everything, I was like, at some point, there was a point where I didn't feel those things. And then now I feel them very deeply. So I'm very careful about where I go. And it keeps me being a hermit for the most part because I'm like, I can't do it. Because I will go in different places, but I can't allow myself to be able to deeply connect in that. Makes me I can't and coming up do the work that I do, right? And to be able to see that spiritual thing, to walk through with my ancestors, and to be kind of speak. Because, you know, I was the biggest question, right? Because there's so much more. I'm learning, and it's like, teach me, right? You know, and I get to sit up here with you guys, and I'm like, I'm sponge. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, and to enjoy the conversation. So, with that being said, please type in and add to it, or, you know, what are your thoughts on that? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It's was been cutting out on my end like almost the whole time.
Yeah,
It was
I thought it
coming
was
in and
just
out.
me.
I thought it was mine.
It could be the connection as well. Sorry. um, can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Yes.
See, that's the ancestors. They're like, you're just going to talk and, you know, and this, that, and that. Don't do that to me. I didn't do nothing to y'all. So I'm constantly arguing with my ancestors, right? I'm like, yeah, well, this is the way this is going to work, Tony. I'm like, you know what? I didn't do nothing to y'all. Don't make me. I will fight you. I will.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah.
But did you win that? You'll
See,
fight them, but did you win?
No. I didn't because no one hurt me. You know, I mean, our guest on Twitter was like, yeah, well, all of us were thinking that. I was like, oh, okay, so somebody heard me out there. What? Whatever.
Interesting.
So, okay, let me just pose this question. In our ancestral healing journey, how do we allow ourselves to go past the limitations of our subconscious mind to allow our unconscious mind to take us into that spiritual place, to break the chains of our minds, to better build that space for everyone to be welcome in?
I'll speak to that. Kate, what you were sharing is like the core foundation of my work in regard to, and I see the thread here, right? Because I was speaking earlier about when we are intuitively connected, it's not crazy. So what I want to say about this is the mental mind if it's not tangible, like physically tangible, if it's not logical, analytical, if it doesn't make sense, the mental mind will totally put a kibosh on it. And we'll say things like, "Oh, that's crazy." And I hear it all the time. When someone has an intuitive connection, the first thing I noticed they say, it's so funny. I literally just did a teaching about this yesterday that I'm going to post on Instagram, because I see it all the time, that the minute that someone has an intuitive connection to their vast intelligence, because when we even, I mean, let's give the conscious mind something to chew on and think about, right? The size of our brain compared to the size of our physical body. I mean, enough said, right? Yet we give all of our, is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Asking the conscious mind, asking the mental mind. So anytime there is anything intangible that the mental mind can't understand, it will say, "Oh, this is crazy," or "That's not really happening," or "It's my imagination." And what I want to say to that is, when something bubbles up out of nowhere, that is not your effing imagination. That is as real as you can get. And it's just that our society has disconnected us from our vast superpowers. And they're not even superpowers. They are as real as our five senses. We are multidimensional beings. We are not just the five senses. The five senses is how we navigate this tangible world where we get to experience, the pleasure or not pleasurable things. We get to smell crap and we get to smell roses. You know what I mean? Like it gives life to our human experience. However, it is not who we are. It's just a tool that was given to us for our soul to have this human experience. So what I want to say is, you're not crazy. 90% of what's real is in the invisible realms. And that is where our power is. And I love, Kate, when you shared about these intuitive nudges. And, it reminds me of us, if there's anything that I could pass along to anybody, is move in the direction that feels right.
Yes.
And you'll never go wrong.
Yes.
Not move in the direction of strategizing your life out. Because you know what? Life freaking changes anyway. You could plan your life out 5 years from now and bam, something can happen. And the whole trajectory of life changes. And then you just waste all this time and energy and timesheets and all this stuff creating a life plan, because life happens. And so it's really getting comfortable with the mystery of life, with the unknown. And the last thing I'll share, because it just feels relevant in this moment, because when it happened, it was so exciting. It wasn't terrifying. The reason I bring this up is because that picture I actually just put into my office. So, Kate, when you talk about intentional fields, I had this picture in my fireplace room. And yesterday, something called me for no logical reason. There wasn't any story around it. There was just something. I looked at the picture, and that this picture wanted to be in this room. So I put this picture in the room yesterday. And I didn't have a memory until we're on this call today that it was when I stepped into medicine wheel healing. Listen to that nudge, that the visceral response was sheer terror. When I listened to that intuitive nudges, like overcome the fear and the terror, step into this next body of work with my teacher. And it was the best thing I ever did. And the reason I bring that up is because that picture, it was a year after I began my journeying with medicine wheel. And I had a dear friend of mine who was also journeying in class, and we have the same teacher, and she came to visit me. And we always felt this soul connection. And I had my medicine wheel out in my bedroom at that time. And we walked into, and we always felt this connection. So the point is, I'm in my bedroom with her, and I share with her, I'm like, I just have to say, I feel like we have some sort of like bloodline together. Like I just feel this. And later found out, as she did exploring her lineage, she found out that actually one of her ancestors was Jewish. She didn't know that before. So we just started putting the pieces together. Like, I think we go back far enough. There's some sort of, fornication going on. We're actually related. So when that started happening, we felt the room get full. And it did freak us out for a minute, but also so excited us. And we walk out into the hallway. And this is when I was in my apartment in LA. Now I'm in my home in Colorado. And we walk out into the hallway. And we're like, oh my God, we just need a breather because it's getting really heavy in here. And we turn the hallway corner and I had the picture. And it was moving. It literally became alive, like something out of Alice in Wonderland. And because we were together and we both were seeing it at the same time, it helped heal for both of us. This isn't crazy. This is not our imagination. We just tapped into a portal.
Yes.
And so having someone else being in the same experience with each other, like her and me, it really helped us to feel more comfortable, even more comfortable in the real world, which I call the world of magic. In the intangible, we're in the real world of co-creation, the real world where our ancestors live. It's real. 10% of this physical world, this physical 10%. It's our mirror. But yeah, so not to be afraid of what society has cut off from us, because the world has cut us off from our true power. Because when we really step into this invisible world of intuitiveness and ancestors and all of this, nobody can control us anymore.
No.
We can't be controlled.
Amen.
We're not here anymore. And
No.
and what I'll leave with is I'm not bringing politics and religion into this. Very sensitive about that. What I will say is that any sort of, if there's any level of fear that is running a human being and they have a place of power, they will unconsciously or consciously manipulate and control you.
Yes.
And if you are not connected to your intuition when you can feel that, then you can be controlled and caged. And that is not what I want for you. So I just felt I needed to say that. It's where your safety is. Your intuition is your safe place. You can't keep yourself safe otherwise.
It's so funny you talk about that picture becoming alive and you and your friend witnessing at the same time. Because yes, I'm awake all night. My ancestors, my mother often has me on TikTok all night. She'll wake me up and says, someone needs you. And I know what that means. Get up, make you a cup of coffee, get in front of the screen now. And, I just talk. Sometimes we just talk in my TikTok lives. And sometimes I've got cards flying everywhere. But what's been happening lately, as I've shared with people, and my iPad screen just lit up with my mother's photo as I say that, how you need to be careful of who you are trusting your energy, your ancestral energy with, and your healing with. And that you should always watch for the signs before you trust someone with your ancestral lineage, your energy, and your healing. And it's hilarious because the last couple of days, we've noticed that when someone doesn't believe in the audience that I am as connected as I say I am, my pop-up and my mom put on a show for them. My pop-up will confirm their cards with this light. But if someone comes in the room that means ill intention, this light will be like a disco light. It's a strobe light. It's my way of knowing before it hits my intuition, before I look in the chat. My pop-up is warning me someone means good. And then my moderators go searching. But my point is, there was a woman who lost her daughter in the chat this morning. She lost her baby. And I could feel her pain because my mother will often allow those unctions to hit my body just so I feel it, a fraction, so I know where that pain is. And I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. The baby drowned.
Mm.
And I wound up giving her a free reading. I do this a lot. My coach gets mad at me. She'll probably yell at me later for this, but I have to go with what they're telling me to do, whether I have a coach or not on this 3D realm. I have to do what these dozen that remain around me at all times tell me to do, what they tell me. And so I gave her a free reading, and my mother said, no, not that deck. And so I'm going into the other deck. And she's like, I don't believe this is happening, because I began to channel. And she goes, I don't believe this is happening. This light behind me starts on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. And a couple of people in the chat turned around and said, that's Pop. He's telling you, they've been with me for a while. And they're like, Pop is confirming, what she's saying. Pop is confirming that that's really happening. It's not this light, it's that light. And it's important for us to open our minds up to those things, those signs, those things that might seem, as today's society would label it, crazy, but it's not. Just as you saw that picture moving. And what's funny is when I first noticed you, I noticed the picture and the wheels seemed to be moving to me.
Mm.
And so it's important, as we're healing our ancestral lineage, to honor that space too. To honor those signs. Don't be afraid of them when they happen. Fear, it doesn't serve us any purpose. But tap in. Does it feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Did it feel right? Then it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's your message. And I am talking about my grandfather, Pop. So I saw the chat.
Yeah.
So
Rachel is in here, and she's tuned in. She's like, you know what? I'm here for it. And we're glad that you're here, Rachel.
Yes.
And please,
Yes.
if you have any questions for the panelists, please put them in there. We'll be sure to answer them.
Absolutely.
Kate, Rachel would like to know what sort of shampoo you're wearing. Okay. So, and Amy, she's like, you're a cooking girl, so thank you so much for participating with us and being on this journey as we, for our third installment of this. And please, be sure to tune in as well. So, Kate, you want to share your beauty secrets?
Wow. I have a really good hairstylist, I will say. She's probably like my biggest beauty secret. And I have to be honest, product wise, I'm a pretty simple gal. But I use I'm trying to remember what it's even called. It's like I use like one like very natural shampoo and conditioner, and then my stylist hooks me up with this stuff called Charcolite. And it works if you're blonde or brassy or anything like that. And then I just have like a texture spray that's literally from Target, like pretty simple over here. That's all I do. But thank you. That's very sweet, and you definitely made my day.
Look, I love when the audience participates with us, because they help us open up the doors, right?
Yes.
Because for one, like I can ask questions, or we can always ask these questions, and there'll be people out there that go, oh, well, what about this, right? And it helps us go in that deeper space to shed light on those different avenues, right? Because again, we're just really scratching the surface. And yes, we go deep in these conversations. We really do. And I love the way that we're going deep. And Kate, I want you to tune in as well. I'm just going on a useless rant right now. But it helps us go into these deeper spaces, shed that light on those questions that people will have, and and give them a better understanding of the different avenues, those different paths that can be taken that they not think about, right? And and that's why I enjoy this, because it really helps validate that we're all on the right path when it comes to it as teachers, as students, as as understanding the deeper connection of our ancestors and how it affects us in present day.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And like I said, my mind would go in 1,000 different directions, only to lead me to those spaces of healing.
Yes.
Right. Because healing, one thing people don't understand, or maybe they do. Healing is hard. It is painful, and it's so deep. And when we can understand that the grief that we carry with us can be a pathway, a doorway to those different areas.
Yes.
A question was posed to me on LinkedIn. Hopefully that gentleman is tuning in. He posed this question. He said, what is the impact that healing can have on people? I began to think about this. This is just my thoughts. Again, it all depends on an individual. What are you seeking in your healing? Some people are seeking forgiveness. Some people are seeking self-accountability, self-awareness, spiritual understanding, going into a place. Oh man, I'm so sorry.
Not as bad though. This time I think we could make it out.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I can make it out this time.
Was
I
it
don't
like
know what's going on. Okay, well, we're gonna work on these things. It's a place of deeper understanding, and for myself, and again, I can't speak for everyone else, but for myself, it was a compilation of all of these different things. I wanted to be more of me, who I'm called to be, without limitations. So I posed that question to my parent. What does that impact of healing mean to you?
Would you mind if I jump in? I'm going to have to jump off here in a few minutes. I have a plumber coming that I've been trying to get here for days. So
Yes.
not to be rushed or anything like that. Just is what it is. Can you repeat your question one more time? Because I know it's like the impact of healing, and I had something like coming, but my rush to tell you about my plumber kind of messed me all up.
No worries. So what does the impact of healing have on you?
Oof. I think for me personally, it's given me, this is going to hit on so many things, but true sovereignty and freedom within my own life, and not just within my own life, but within my lineage, right? Within the ancestral healing that I've done, within my family that is here, within, I think it even gives, courage and permission to others, right? Because, and this is something that, is a piece of feng shui and creating our spaces, but whenever we're able to really fully step into our most authentic self, that's where we can garner this idea of fame and reputation. Doesn't mean like famous, like a celebrity. It means that your energy, what your energy is putting off to others, is this: it's okay to shine your light, to be yourself. And that's really, you give other people the permission to do the same without even knowing you're doing it. It is literally just the energy that you put out. So to me, like, I can't, even though my healing journey has been interesting and at times challenging and at times like it's a lot, I can't imagine the person that I wouldn't even want to be, the person that I could have been. Like, I do think about that often. Like, I go back and think, man, if I would have never started to go down this path, who would I be? And I'm almost like, oh God, I don't even want to think about that. Because I wouldn't have a sense of freedom. Like, I would probably, I don't even want to speak into words like the person that I could have been, because it's really a dark, sad, unhappy, disempowered version of myself. And so I just, I can't imagine. And I still have a lifetime of figuring all that out and adding, going, peeling the onion back again and again and again and going deeper and deeper with it. But God, it has just given me so much peace and so much safety and so much freedom to not only be the me that I was meant to be in this lifetime, but I think the me that I could have also been in previous lifetimes, and has also given freedom and healing to my whole lineage and my family that exists right now. It's just given this permission, right, to everyone around me, and I just can't imagine being any different than that physical being that I am right now. So thank you for asking that. I've never thought about that and put it into words. That was really beautiful question.
Thank you for taking us on that journey. That was truly amazing. And before you jump off, I want to say thank you for joining us today. And look forward to seeing you on many more episodes if you would like to.
Oh my God, I would seriously love it. Yeah. I'm gonna hang out until I get a text, but just know if I just randomly pop off, I didn't just disappear.
One thing you'll find about me, I am a podcaster, and I'm always like, hey, if you guys want to join in, please come and join in. Because I think the insight from having that information from multiple people give different perspectives, and that people can explore. Because I may articulate it one way, and Taiwan is articulated another way, and so forth and so forth. So I love having that variety, because it helps people understand, right? It helps people understand on their level. And I think that's the purpose of us doing these conversations, is to help people, help guide them, give them the tools, right? To be able to share you guys' intellect on these things, and I love it, what I'm saying? Because it's not about me, it's about you guys and, your journeys and how you articulate it. And I'm here for it. Let's just put it that way. So the same question to you guys, whomever wants to chime in.
Amy?
Sure. My God, like, how much time do you have? I mean,
hey, we here now. I mean, like I said, we here. So go ahead and do your thing.
Pose the question again for me. It always helps for me to ground everything that's coming in. If you would pose the question again.
Yes. How does that level of healing impact you?
It impacts every fiber of my being in every way that I walk in this world and how I interact with every human being. I And Kate, I posed the same question within myself. I remember when I posed it, because I did invest. My main investment became my healing when I was 29, and I just never looked back. And I posed myself that question of, if I could have all that money back, but what I would need to give back in return is the young girl that I was back then. I was like, hell no, I would never, that poor young girl. She was so traumatized. I suffered with, and there's things I didn't even know. Like, when I began my healing journey, it was a rock bottom in my life. And there was something in me. I had a wake up call. I was in my late 20s, fitness, chick. I didn't even realize, and I used to be very heavy as a child. So I was functioning. I didn't come to realize this till years later, that every way that I functioned was from fear. It was from external. Will people like me? What are people going to say about me? Am I doing the right thing? I valued myself by how I looked. If I didn't have a six pack, I hated myself. I mean, it was so, oh, that poor girl. It was so crippling. It was so unhealthy, yet I didn't know that I was functioning from that place at the time. And I stepped into my healing journey when I was out of a breakup, and I started engaging in what, for me, was self-sabotaging behaviors. As a trainer, I'm like smoking cigarettes. I'm, getting under someone to get over someone. I would use my sexuality to feel worthy or to gain attention, and then wonder why I was only seen as a sex object. And I was in so much pain and anxiety. I couldn't be alone. I mean, and I felt like I was a fraud. And I had clients of mine that were telling me, like, you need therapy. Like, we're worried about you. And I had this conversation in my head. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Because I wasn't in a place where I could even admit, like, that denial moment. Like, I couldn't even get to a place to admit that I wasn't fine. And I remember that moment and all the shame I carried. Like, I never even told this story for years, because I carried so much shame and embarrassment of how I was, like, functioning. I wound up dating an ex-convict, and I laugh because of my upbringing. It makes sense from the trauma, right? I was recreating what was comfortable, being controlled by a man, being in fear, being in extreme unhealthy, looking for their approval, like all these things, but it wasn't conscious. And I caught him in a lie. And here I am, 4:00 in the morning, coming from the bars, drunk off my ass, driving from Long Island to Brooklyn at the time, to kind of ream him out, because that was like a power thing for me, of like having control, try to have control over men without even realizing it. And this is back in this is like 2000. So it's before the term gaslighting was even a mainstream term. When I go to his house, and he does the gaslighting thing of turning it around on me, and wanting to break up with me, and saying all these horrible things, and denying that what I found out was true, when it was. And I was with a dangerous man. Like, he was in jail for stabbing somebody like that. And the moment for me was, instead of being like, I'm out of here, like, I fell to the floor, like in this fetal position, begging him to take me back. I mean, it was just like, I look back and I'm like, God, that's craziness, right? This level of powerlessness, and like feeling like, what's happening here? And I look around me, and I'm like, it was like this out of body experience. I'm like, I feel like I'm with my dad. Even his patterns, like, my dad had a lot of poverty consciousness. He like would save. He wasn't a hoarder, but he would save things. And like, this guy like had like 5 cans of everything in case like there was an apocalyptic thing happening. There were so many patterns and I had this aha moment in the same moment that I'm just like curled up in this fetal position, and this memory came in of, that's how I lived. I remember being 8 years old, like looking through the banister, like, is my mom safe? Like, is he gonna hit her? Like, I was just like, that same terror, and it scared me. I got scared for myself. Like, I had this moment of, I'm going to say it. This was exactly what I thought in my head. I think I'm fucked up. I don't think I'm fine. And I called a therapist the next day. And it was this unconscious commitment, like my soul committed to the healing, but I didn't know what I was committing to. Because this therapist happened to also be spiritually connected, because I started having a sudden wake up. And it was terrifying to me. I didn't even know what energy was. And I started seeing energy. I mean, it was really scary for me. But fortunately, spirit supported, and all these, teachers came into my life at the time that I needed it. And I remember my friend, who I just spoke with the other day, we went to yoga school together. She's like, I remember that day when, I was so invested. And she was like, how are you going so deep so fast? And I'm like, I just got to figure this out. I can't live like this anymore. And so what has the healing journey done for me? I can't even imagine the type of relationship I would have gotten into with who I was back then, looking for, daddy's approval through other men. It brings tears to my eyes of just like how much I lived with anxiety and overwhelm and self-doubt, and how I valued myself through external. And I don't even have words. Like this healing journey, this journey of self-discovery, of understanding who I became and how I functioned in life was from trauma. But it's not who I am. And I've been able to break free from default patterns like people pleasing, like retreating, like withdrawing, like being terrified, not feeling safe with men, being terrified to be around men. Like men are these unsafe entities versus like wonderful human beings. It just goes on and on and on. Yet alone, all the thousands of women I've been able to support as a result of me doing my own healing. I did not step into my healing journey to be a healing practitioner. My healing journey had me step into my soul purpose, and I couldn't step away from that. And I giggle when Kate spoke about Safe to Shine, because one of my first group programs that I created that I still offer is actually called Safe to Shine Your Light. And it's because that was the journey that I went through. And I now feel safe speaking up. I now have healthy boundaries. I now take care of myself. I don't, if I need a massage, I go get a massage. I don't make other things more important than what I do, so that I can be healthy, so that I can be my best for others. And so it keeps me in a place of, I'm valuable. And it's an ever unfolding journey in that. But the alternative, I can't even imagine the hell that I would have been living in. And I would have been, because it would have been my own internal hell. So
we do have quite a lot in common, you and I. I got to a point where I said I can't go back. And I found myself laid face down on the carpet, screaming and begging for my ex to love me. And he stepped right over my body as if I were trash on the street of New York. And I internalized that. And instead of getting the help that I needed, I attempted to take my life a week later, and I was serious. And was kind of thrown into this downward spiral of loss and grief and pain. And I hadn't even remembered that my father impregnated me. I had stuffed it back so far. I remembered the act, but I hadn't even remembered that. And the day that my middle child stood up to me. And I know it hurt her. We were the closest. I know it hurt her. And said, you can't be in our lives right now, Mom.
Mm.
I said, you know what? I'm jumping in the pool with both feet. And when I got into my little apartment, I tell my TikTokers, healing is not linear. What you see today is not what was here a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, there were a lot of nights spent like this. 2 years ago, there were a lot of nights spent like this. Saying to my ancestors, I can't do it. Because when I tried to take my life, they took me to the ancestral plane.
Mm.
And so I knew if I tried again, they would send me back because they told me. So I had to do it. And not only did I have to do it, I had to do it while losing everything and everyone I loved. And like you spoke about, when I think, and I tell my TikTokers this, when I think of how sad and desperate that woman that laid her soul on that floor, I can still feel the carpet.
Mm-hmm.
And said, please just love me. Please just see me. Just see me. I feel so bad for her because I don't know her. And I would still be her had I not said yes to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what events it took to get me to where I am today. I'm here. And I am fulfilling my dream as a Brooklyn, New York City group home girl of helping other women heal. Since the day I stepped foot with my black trash bag in a New York City group home at 15, I knew I wanted to help women.
Mm.
And here I am.
Mm.
Nothing, no one would ever be worth me going back. I can't even imagine what that would look like. I have been happily single, celibate, and peaceful for 2 3/4 years now. And there is no end in sight because the peace and the love that I have for myself right now is so high that I cannot imagine a soul that can come in and match it. And I tell that story almost every night when I get those questions. Is Kevin going to marry me? No, Kevin's not going to marry you because you're too busy laying on your floor begging for Kevin to marry you. I had my own place. I make them laugh, and I'm like, I sit on my couch sometime and I'm like, girl, what were you? Your car was in the garage and you had a townhouse on the better side of town. What were you thinking? To allow someone to take the little bit of self-esteem that you could dredge up. But as you said, and as is coming out in The book, and I'm only mentioning this because you said the title of it earlier, Divine Synchronicity. I am part of an anthology. The book is called Divine Synchronicity. And as will be told in that, the 2.5 years of my life, I'm here.
Mhm.
And every day I get to wake up and I don't have my mirrors covered anymore. And I don't want a tummy tuck anymore.
Mm.
And I don't care about the 40-something surgery scars on my body. And I bear all of the internal scars in front of the world so that I can get emails like I got today. You saved my life and didn't know it. You saved my life today. I was planning.
Mm.
Or the email that I got 2 months ago. I had the pills in my hand and I came across you.
Mm.
And I know it's going to be hard, but I'm going to stay here and I'm going to heal. Nothing could make me go back to that version of myself. Now, do I love her? I absolutely do. I love every version of myself that has brought me to where and who I am today. From the little girl who wasn't loved, who was dirty, who was getting beat up on the schoolyard, to the teenager who had to make an adult decision about a child she was carrying and hated from the time she urinated on a stick, to the woman who was held at gunpoint on her knees by her husband. I chose my father over and over and over and over and over again. And it stops here.
Mm.
So until someone can match the love that I have for me, the respect I have for me, this goddess that you see in front of you, it's not a facade. It's my life. I will stay in my peaceful little corner and keep healing the women, like the young woman that signed up with me this morning, because she sees her mother healing with me and she trusts no one. But she said to me this morning, when I said, "How do you feel?" I feel safe. This teenager who's been in trouble, giving her mother the blues. When I ask her, "How do you feel with me?" she chose the word safe. So while, yes, there's healing to do between my children and I, and that's happening. It's happening. I'm here. And nothing and no one can ever, my children included, take me back to being that masked individual who didn't know who she was, what she was, what she liked. When I got into my apartment, I didn't even know what I liked. So as a fellow healer, I honor you. As a fellow New York City girl, you got it. I am honored to sit here with the two of you, Kate included, who has taught me some things, and we're going to switch some things around in Goddess's house. But you were right. We did have a lot more in common than you understood, than I understood. And it's been such an honor to sit here with you today.
Wow.
It really has. You are a beacon of light and hope to those of us that have been lost. And girl, where were you 10 years ago? I needed you. New York City girls stick together. Come on. I'm messing with you. I have this thing where when moments get serious, I try to lighten them up a little bit so that we're not so.
Yeah.
But I hope to be able to follow you on social media because you have truly inspired me today.
Oh God.
You really have. And it's been an honor to sit on this panel with you. Tony's amazing. He already knows what I think of him. He already knows. I love Tony. Me and Tony go way back a few months ago.
Oh yeah. We had a deep conversation on the podcast. Just for the record, my camera did go out. We was talking about the ancestors, and the ancestors said, "You know what? You don't get to see them no more." Okay, and I was like, you know what? Forget you. I'm still here. You know. At least you guys can still hear me. So it just means that I bought this 4K camera, and then 4K just decided to do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
And Tawana, you already know we go deep, right? You know what I'm saying? And this conversation did exactly that. We went deep into this.
Yes.
And again, this is why I enjoy this topic. That's what it's designed to do. It's to take us deep. It's to ask those questions. But also, to help to share your experiences, right? In this, your intellect. And as you see, the Rachel is in there with us, and I am here for it, right? And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But before we wrap this up, you guys tell people where to find you so they can follow you on social media. And please keep that connection going between you guys, because I would love to see you guys. Amy, Taiwan is on TikTok. She's over there doing her thing. She's already, tried to bully me already, but so, what I'm saying, Taiwan, tell people where they can find you.
Everything Black Butterfly Goddess. My website is blackbutterflygoddess.com, and I am Black Butterfly Goddess across all social media platforms.
Awesome. Amy?
Yes, I've spent so much time just working with clients that I'm just starting to get myself on social media. And so Tawana, you've been an inspiration for me because it's like you said, like that reminder of I need to be more available, So my IG is my company name, Women's Worth Academy. My website is womensworthacademy.com. My email is amy@womensworthacademy.com. You can go on my Facebook business page is Women's Worth Academy with Amy Sherrill, or you could just my personal Facebook page, Amy Sherrill. And Taiwana, you are inspiring me. I know I've been feeling the nudge for a while of getting myself on TikTok, because I haven't done this yet. I haven't done a lot of the social media yet. I've just kind of been, private, like people just find me, but that doesn't serve the masses.
if you have the jitters and you need me to go live with you, girl, I got you. I will sit there and bring people in for you and then hand it all over. We got you. And actually, if you have a TikTok, I would love to have you on as a guest one day.
I would love that.
To inspire and to let people know that, I mean, they've seen paranormal things happen in my life, but to let people know that there are others out here that they can reach out to for help and healing in different metaphysical modalities and things of that nature. So I would love to do a live with you.
Thank you. And just like your book, Divine Synchronicity, I literally last night got this nudge. So clearly there's something happening that was got to get on TikTok, and just, get on TikTok. Like just, so that came through last night. So clearly, Sister Goddess, there's something going on here.
There is. My mother's laughing, so she's up to something. Anytime she's giggling off to the side, she's always right here. And it's funny because my TikTok followers, they're like, that eye changes colors. I'm like, okay, yeah. And what else? Surprise me with something that happens in my house. But yeah, she's giggling. So I have gotten to the point, as of last week, I stopped asking her what's it all about, because then she'll go, mind your business, in true New York mother fashion. Mind your business. So I mind my business now, and when it unfolds, the story will unfold and it will be beautiful, and I know it. So I'll mind my business.
Now you're just for the record, Tawana, your Facebook is the same, Black Butterfly Goddess as well. Rachel,
my business is Black Butterfly Goddess. My personal is Tawana Yvette. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, there you go, Rachel.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can find her on Facebook. Hopefully that helps. With that being said, my friend is here. She, well, my little sister's here. She's like, you gotta go eat, because she's gonna take me out for my birthday. For
go get your birthday. Since we sang to you.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, thank you guys. And we're going to stay in contact as well, and because we got a lot more coming up. And for everyone who's tuned in, sorry I lost the camera. Hopefully, you guys can still hear us and everything, or hear me. And you enjoyed this conversation. Again, this is just a third installment. We got 5 more to go in 2 more weeks. We on August 24th, we got Pulling Back the Layers. And so we're, again, guys, tune in. If it's your first time tuning in and you haven't already, do me a favor. Head over to their YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. You guys go back, check out. If you want to hear the conversation between me and Tawana when she was on the podcast, it is up there. And again, we do live podcasts. Kate, I think she's dealing with the plumber right now, and I will get her information, and I will put all of their information into the discussion when I get it. That way, you guys can have that information. And yeah, you guys, this is going to conclude this episode of the Ancestral Healing, and you guys are going to see you in the next one. I'm gonna get a new camera because apparently, you know what I'm saying,
it's not 4K, bro. It's not 4K.
Huh?
Yeah, I said it's not 4K, bro.
You know what? You know what? It did say 4K when I was on there. Okay, when I bought it, but apparently it was like, no, you ain't no K right now. So,
oh, here she is, Feng Shui Kate on Facebook and on Instagram and TikTok.
Feng Shui Kate. Okay.
Oh. Okay. Here's what I'll do. Let's see. So I just copy and paste it. I'm going to put that down there as well. Here you go. This is Kate's information. All right. So we just put that in there. So yeah, you can just copy and paste it, guys. And so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for everything. Love the conversation. And again, you know what I'm saying, looking forward to just staying in contact with everybody. Tawana, you have my number. You already know what it is. And so, you know, and for everyone else, thank you guys for tuning in. And we're going to see you guys in the next one. And like I said, the update. Hey, little one. Yes. Hey, little ones.
Time. I have 3 little siblings, but Chloe, she's like hasn't left my side this entire call.
I know. I saw her in the background. I was like,
I did too.
You might as well have brought her on up here to be in the conversation with us. Because I was looking, she just looked like she wanted to be on camera. So
exactly.
You can't be denying this, okay? You can't be denying it. All right.
Exactly. You guys enjoy your dinner, Tony. Yes. Happy birthday again.
Thank you guys so much.
Such an honor. And Tawana, we definitely are staying connected.
Girl, look, I already sent you friends request. I'm quick with it. Such a pleasure. And Kate, I sent you friends request as well. So
yes, Kate,
everybody have a beautiful evening.
You guys
blessing.
Enjoy your beautiful day.
You too.
And we're gonna be doing this again. All right.
Awesome. So, I'm here for it.
You. And guys, have a great one.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Thank you.